Hey everyone, and welcome back to ScoreVision Advantage. I'm excited to share another special episode with you all, and I can't wait to introduce today's special guest, DeWayne Taylor. DeWayne has been practicing the art of voice for nearly a decade. Trained by some of the best in the country, he's hosted and performed and spoken for millions of attendees and viewers, including Red Bull, TED, and the College World Series. In addition to being a uniquely strong and adaptable performer behind a microphone, DeWayne is also a human beatboxer and educator. He travels teaching children how to embrace their unique personalities through beatbox and showcasing at venues and events. DeWayne is an avid arts advocate and sits on two arts boards, the Lincoln Arts Council Board of Directors and the Blixt Locally Grown Board of Directors. He uses his influence to help youth capitalize on opportunities to create change in their own life and communities through the arts. DeWayne is a strong brand who brings authentic content and genuine, purposeful energy management to every event. He currently works as a live event master of ceremonies, or MC, voiceover artist, and serves as the afternoon radio personality for Lincoln's hit music 106.3 KFRX. He also entertains audiences as the on-court personality for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Huskers men's basketball team, DJs for the women's team, and lends his voice as the PA announcer for all of Husker gymnastics, all while running a live events team called Whatever Collective. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Passionate about, I want to do something big. I want to be a personality.
Yeah.
I always thought you were going to end up in Los Angeles. Do you think you ever would?
I went and it's great and all, but, a couple of things. First, the industry itself is having massive layoffs. So that's just happening. And two, it's everyone is there. Everyone wants that spot. Everyone is fighting for it. And as exciting as that is, my ultimate goal isn't to be like a movie star or have a reoccurring TV show. It's to have freedom and ownership and also be able to be the biggest in my brand as I can be, right? The biggest in the industry. Yeah. And then to build a team that can also help each other out so that we're not all stuck doing the same thing for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. So that it's a little bit more flexible and also just providing your own team with their own amount of freedom.
Yeah. You control the means, right? If you can build it yourself and help your people within, then you don't have to depend on an outside source. And as much as I love major networks and companies and I would love to work with all of them all the time, you do have to understand that their goal is to make money, period. Their goal is not to take care of you. They take care of you because you take care of them. But if you really want to take care of yourself, you can take that control and then also help others around you, right? Those in your community, because I think we're lacking a bit of that. But
100%.
Yeah, so that's the goal. Woo.
Oh, I love that so much. I can't wait. Okay.
We are rolling, just so you know.
Oh,
so that was
sweet.
all good stuff to get. I think the mic
you can edit that in later, right?
Yeah, we can possibly do it. I can't hit the mic mute, but otherwise, you can start asking questions whenever.
Okay, sweet. Well, I think first things first. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. We made it.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you on our podcast, and I cannot wait for everyone to learn from you. So I think first things first, I really would just want to start off talking about your story. Yeah. You're here now, but what was the original dream here? When you first realized you had a passion for beatboxing and then being a voice artist and a personality, how did this all begin for you?
Man, well, first thing I would say is I wanted to be a cartoonist. I remember I got into an argument with my mom in 9th grade, and she was like, how are you supposed to support yourself making cartoons? And I was like, I don't care, Mom. I'll make $12,000 a year and live in a shack as long as I do what I love. So that was my first passion, was to make cartoons that kind of connected with what people were feeling in the moment. And I don't know if you remember, but what's it called? The Hawk Talk, the magazine that we had.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that.
I was the cartoonist for the school newspaper. And so I would make cartoons that kind of talked about that. So that was the first passion, and it was just connecting with people through this shared medium. And as I joined the speech team and found success there, and then started doing the pep rallies, and that was in 2010 when I started doing pep rallies. Man. And, honestly, it just has never stopped. So the entire story kind of starts in 2010. I was beatboxing a little bit, and doing pep rallies at school. I had gotten pulled onto the speech team, started doing well in those tournaments, and fast forward junior, senior year, I had continued the beatboxing, continued the pep rallies, continued the speech, got recruited to the University of Nebraska, did a TED Talk right after I graduated high school on the history of beatboxing. That put me in front of the small business community, which increased my profile in those spaces and allowed me to get in there and beatbox for them, but also do some speaking. Eventually, I transitioned out of beatboxing only into speaking only in 2014. In 2015 was kind of the first year of DeWayne only emceeing / speaking. And 2017 rolls around. I, do that for 3 years. And all this time, right, I remember my first gigs in college. I didn't have a car until my end of my sophomore year. So I was walking to gigs, maybe getting $5 per performance. I mean, it was a grind, right? It was a slog. So we go through that until about January 2017. I go out to LA, I get some hosting training, and then come back. And then the Huskers reached out and asked if I'd audition for the announcer for the women's basketball team. And I do the audition, and it's like 2.5 weeks. It's just kind of a long time. And they email us and say, hey, we'd like to actually talk about something different. And that something different was the MC position for the men's basketball team. So that's what hopped me into that MC spot. And since then, I went on to join the gymnastics team, and then the gymnastics team, and then volleyball as well, and picked up the Big Ten baseball tournament in 2019, and then the College World Series in 2021.
That is such a journey.
Yeah, it's a little wild.
That is. I mean, I feel like you've touched so many different industries. Like, I feel like people forget how broad you can go with like personalities, hosting, and all of that. Do you feel like starting back to when you were in high school and the opportunity to do the pep rallies, was there like someone specifically who was like, hey, I think this kid has some talent and I feel like we should just like let him do his thing at our pep rallies? Or were you just like advocating for yourself as a student and being like, I want to do that and this is what I'm going to do?
They actually had an audition process. So I think it was the student council kind of held auditions for the spot, and there was a panel from the student council and then a panel of educators who were going to be organizing the pep rally. So think the media personnel, maybe a couple of coaches who knows that their players are going to be highlighted, right? So they're looking for somebody that can both represent the students, but also is kind of responsible enough that the adults could let them run wild with a microphone on the middle of a court. So yeah, it was an audition process. And then after that, the audition process stayed, but people would, of course, advocate here and there year after year.
I had no idea that was going on. I had no idea that that's how they did it, but I feel like so many schools could actually benefit from doing that more often. I get a sense from a lot of people that we've spoken with that that's not the case, that they don't have a personality like that. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit more about now where you're at today. And I think first things first, when I was reading through your bio, I was like, man, there's so many different things that you've done, and also understanding that there's different roles. So I was hoping that maybe you could help us understand that also a little bit further, because you mentioned obviously beatboxing is one thing, but then I also know that you DJ, and DJing during sporting events is not the same as being a personality who's on the court, I'm assuming.
Totally.
And so like, what are all those different roles that you've played, and what is their significance within the larger event production?
Yeah. So you mean sports specifically or anything?
Yeah, if you can.
So we'll start with emceeing, right? The master of ceremonies. Some people call it an in-game host. I prefer master of ceremonies just because I feel it does something different. And in-game host is, someone who may get the energy rolling, may hype the crowd up, right? They welcome people, they get people excited, but a master of ceremonies almost has to be embedded into the energy of the event. So when someone says MC, for me, it's not just the guy on the microphone. Right. There's a responsibility that comes with it, right? Can we engage with the audience? Can we think about concerns that they might have and mitigate those ahead of time? If it seems like the last act is taking forever, how do you bring that energy back so that the organization who's hosting the event doesn't lose momentum and people don't walk away going, man, that was fun, but that took forever. So with a sporting event, the goal is to work with the production team. So I'm just a part of a larger group, and we all do the best in our job so that the vehicle runs smoothly. If any one part is a little wonky in a night, you notice that the car starts driving a little funny. So if the video production team forgot to load audio into the file and they play it and it's not going right, the car is sputtering and people notice. They look at the screen, they're looking around, they're like, where's the sound? We have no sound. All of a sudden the video goes away and then we go back to fan music and stuff like that. Okay, the car's running smooth again. If I get on the microphone and I'm stuttering the entire time and I just have a hard time and I can't remember what I was going to say, the people are noticing the car is sputtering. As soon as I stop talking and get the music back on and the regular fan experience going, the car is running smoothly. So our jobs are each to make sure that we can help the car move as efficiently and as powerfully as possible. So as an MC, I'm just a conduit, right? I'm just helping get the energy in the room right. When I walk into the room, I'm feeling it. When I start talking to the audience, I'm meeting them where they're at, and then we're building from there. So as the MC, I'm really managing that energy over the course of the event or of the game. And as you know, there's not always a winning record, right? Sometimes there are going to be losses, but the goal is to honor people's contribution to the game, which is their energy. So for instance, somebody showed up and they had a hard morning. Maybe they just went through a divorce and this is the ticket that their friends gave them to try to help them out. Maybe someone's kid yelled at them and they showed up with their kid despite being yelled at the entire car ride home, and they need something to escape. That's what we're there for. The whole production team is there to help people escape from their lives and put everything they've got into what's going on in the building. And even if they're not massive sports fans, they're going to be massive experience fans, right? Experiences are up. We're fighting for attention everywhere. So the most important thing that we can do now is help get our audience's attention by giving them an ultimate experience at whatever level. It doesn't have to always look like the NBA or the NFL, but if you can give the audience something special, they will never forget it and they'll keep coming back. I mean, heck, think about the Savannah Bananas, right? To move from an actual baseball team into what they are now, they had to focus completely on the experience. People paid a ticket to show up to watch our guys do backflips and throw funny balls and make jokes. But it's not just about being funny. It's about making sure that when people show up, they are loved on and cared for. So as an MC, sorry, long way to get that. But as an MC, I really try to focus on making sure that we are honoring those people that paid a ticket price to show up.
Okay, before we go on to the next one, immediately all I can think about is I feel like a huge topic right now in high school sports, which is, primarily our audience who's listening to this, is just like overall fan experience of like sportsmanship. And I feel like, it's happening at the college level too, but I feel like high school is a different level. Like you got parents who are already, hot to trot and ready to fight for their child and the whole shebang. So with that being said, I never really thought about it this way, but the minute you were talking about being an MC, it's like that is a value add. Like if you have a student who has a personality who can handle that, and you have someone who maybe is kind of chaperoning them and helping them in the sense of understanding emotional intelligence of what the energy level looks like they can help de-escalate in some senses.
100%. Because you're bringing all of that energy together. Right? If the audience has nothing to focus on, they will choose their own. And sometimes they'll choose their own evil at all levels of sports. So if there is a student that has an aptitude for just being in front of an audience, right? Let's look at anyone from show choir to the person that's giving the presentations for the mathletics program, for the FBLAs, find a student that has some sort of affinity for getting in front of people and sharing a message. We often look for the people who are superstars, but again, the goal isn't for them to be exalted and highlighted. The goal is for them to help get the message across.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a really big criteria to look for, and it helps students develop, right? It shows them something larger than themselves and allows them to shine because they're the conduit, right? When they step on stage, people should start to feel comfortable and want to pay attention to the message that they're going to share because the message is right and the energy is right, not because they're necessarily a superstar. But yes, if you have a student that is smiling and really engaging, or maybe they're really great with walking around and getting to know people and shaking hands and remembering names and stories and generations of people that have come through the high school, yes, put them in front of the audience because they will endear to not only that student, but to the entire organization that supports them, the entire high school. And it's not just your home fans. The away fans will be like, wow, that is kind of cool. I don't mind that person much. So, I'm going to keep my words to myself just a little bit more than I would.
Yeah.
Right. So the jabbering might not happen in those breaks where that person's out there. Whereas if they weren't out there and it was just music or silence, they've got some time to think of mean words to say back and forth.
Yeah. What they're going to say to the ref next.
Exactly, yes. Like, let's keep it, oh, look, a fun game. You can't think about the ref. How could you possibly think about yelling at the ref when we're having so much fun?
For sure. Okay, so now transitioning over to what it looks like to be a PA, because also you've had experiences that. And remind me, I feel like I could be wrong, but you've emceed for both women's basketball and men's basketball. Mm-hmm. And then your PAing was with gymnastics?
Gymnastics, yeah.
Okay, so I would imagine that role looks a lot different because it's a lot more informational.
Totally.
Is that true to say?
Absolutely, yeah. As a PA, your job is to kind of be neutral. To be fair, I'll be stretching that line. The job is to be completely neutral, but we do like a home team advantage, and you can push that a little bit. But the absolute way to get away, with the home team advantage at any level is to give a boost to the other team. Don't hit the, oh my gosh, here's our favorite athlete, John Smith. And then here comes the other team. All right, and now introducing the athlete from the other team, right? It doesn't have to be that far apart. Introducing the athlete from the other team, here's the athlete. And introducing our favorite athlete, John Smith. It's a small difference, but
right.
it doesn't show a swing in favor. It's just a light push. And because everyone is competitive, folks can respect that light push, right? Just make sure to actually show love for the other team, which, by the way, we're getting back into the PA announcer is also caring for the people that show up. That team put in the sweat, the work, the tears. They got on a bus, they got on a plane, whatever they had to do to drive. The parents, they paid their fees. The uniform was cleaned. The coaches took time away from their families, all to show up and be in your arena. So as the PA announcer, you gotta do your best to show love to those people who put their time and effort in to come into your space. So trying to get the names right as best you can, making sure that, again, you can show love to them while also hyping up your team and making sure your home fans know that, you're in their house kind of a situation. So there is a bit of that, but way more informational. You want to make sure that everyone can hear you very clearly because a lot of what you're saying might be rebroadcast on TV, or you might be saving that. It might be clipped for future use. So making sure that everything that is on the script is read is really important.
I am so grateful for the fact that you just pointed out that you can have a home field advantage, but you also need to still show love to the away team. I can't tell you how many high schools, gyms that I've walked into, and people do not upload, like for us being ScoreVision, people do not upload like player photos or they don't for away teams. And they say that it's because it gives them a home field advantage.
No,
and it's like,
doesn't.
no, it makes your experience look like somebody was lazy and didn't want to take care of it. Like, you need to show love and care for the other team. But at the same time, the advantage is that you do get on-demand media that's catered towards your team.
Boom.
You do get the home field advantage of just the comfortable, atmosphere that you've already been in. Like, I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
I can't even. I hope that people really take that to heart.
Well, and if you can't get their photos up, your whole production suffers.
I know, and I don't understand the logic behind it. Okay, but then in addition to being a PA, which I think another thing that I found very interesting is there is a difference between being a PA and also being a broadcaster.
Absolutely.
So those are usually two different teams. And at the high school level, that still exists today.
Absolutely.
Very, very prevalent, especially with streaming now being such a
Yes.
huge thing. So can you outline just a little bit of like the technical differences of those?
Yeah. So as a PA announcer, you're going to be live in the stadium, in the arena, and your words are directly impacting who's live there. So the PA announcer typically isn't doing commentary and isn't doing color. That is the broadcaster's job. The PA announcer is almost like, think of you as like the grandfather. You were there to make sure that everyone knows this is when this will start. The restrooms are over here. The team store is there. Coming up, we've got this. You are guiding everything. And the broadcasters are kind of like the grandchildren, right? Oh my gosh, would you look at that? And wow, look at what he did there. Man. Well, I haven't seen one of those since 1972. You wouldn't believe that's the record that's set back, right? It's all of that going on. And they're running around. The PA announcer is the rock at the very top that is still very calmly doing this and that. Another difference is the audience that is live may not hear the broadcasters. So the broadcasters will have their own space. So it's two different worlds, but the energy is going to be connected through the school's brand. So if you know that your school is very, let's get it, we're grimy and we're always down to have a fight, well, the PA announcer might have a little grit to them. And the broadcast announcers might also be a little, their comments might be a little more sarcastic on the color side, right? The commentary may be a little more aggressive, but those styles should, complement each other. You shouldn't listen to the broadcast and all of a sudden be like, whoa, that doesn't feel like the energy that's there inside of the stadium or inside of the court. In the same way, the PA announcer shouldn't be wildly different than the energy of the broadcasters.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. So it sounds to me like, if I had to summarize, that the PA announcer is a little bit more neutral and
Totally.
the broadcaster is responsible for taking the energy that's already in the stadium and pulling that out to the out of venue experience.
Absolutely. And even if it is dead in the stadium or in the arena, wherever you're at, sell it. As a broadcaster, you got to sell it, because those people sitting at home, again, everyone is paying something. And the number one thing that they're paying that's worth the most value is attention, right? I don't know what attendance is looking like at the high school level, if it's gotten more difficult to get people there to the game. But when people decide to stream, they are giving their all. And that might sound like hyperbole, but it's not. They really are sitting down on their phone. If they're at an important event and they pull it up on their phone, that is every bit of attention that they could possibly muster up. So as the broadcaster, have fun, right? Take a deep breath before you get started. And when you're talking about the game, talk about it to the best of your ability. Don't skip over things because you don't think anybody's listening. Those 5 people, those 50 people, those 500 people, they matter and they count, and they love listening to you, right? Or else they wouldn't be listening.
Exactly. Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about your experience and just kind of now transition over to hearing a little bit more about what you feel is important when talking about all of these different roles combined. So when focusing on your time with the Huskers and the College World Series, I want to know, how important is storytelling and cultural relevance when creating a game day vibe, which it sounds like everybody's responsible for doing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, everyone is responsible, especially in that storytelling part. The video team, it goes from the video team all the way down to the day-to-day production, the spirit squads that are out, the mascot. That helps tell a story for the day. But as an individual storyteller, it's important to be able to weave storylines. I like to use a game, for instance. Let's say it's the Dash for Cash. Person has 30 seconds to find a $100 bill on the ground that could be worth $600, $1,000, whatever. They're blindfolded, they're spun around, and they have to find it. The storyline is always, find the money, yay, win the money. But the vehicle itself is the game, right? But the storyline is something that we can pick out larger than that. So as an MC, I might say, hey, this is Brian who's looking to buy a new car. All he needs is $500, and today's prize is $700. He'll get a new car, and he'll be able to get the car wash membership too, and we're going to get him a discount on it. Now there's a larger storyline. People are pulling for him to win this money. In the same way when they do honoring old coaches or honoring athletes. They tell a story. And a lot of people love and resonate with that because they were a part of that story. The high schooler that you saw 10 years ago that's now playing professionally, you're a part of that story. So when ESPN throws those clips up and you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, I was there for that moment. Story is absolutely everything at every level. So whether you're trying to get video shots of an athlete doing something spectacular or not so spectacular, right? It's all a part of that story. If you're writing the script for the announcer or you're writing a script for social media or broadcast, think about the story that it tells and how that's going to align with the stories that everyone else is telling, whether that's the professional news outlets, whether that's professional broadcasts that might pick up a crazy last second buzzer beater. You want to really think about story. And sometimes you might mess around and pick the story that everyone goes with because people are going to frame it differently depending on which part of the project you are and where you're pushing this out to. But if you really pay attention to how you're telling the story and the angle that it comes from and how in depth you get, you might get picked up by national media and you're in high school, and that happens.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the Dash for Cash because I've actually used that as like one of our sponsorship ideas for high schools. I'm like, man, it's such an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And wasn't it like recently somebody actually won that?
You're thinking of the putt for Porsche.
Oh.
Because the Dash for Cash, people win it all the time, kind of. But it was the putt for Porsche that had never been won inside of the Pinnacle Bank Arena. So someone putted a little golf ball all the way through to the end of this. I don't even know what you would call it. It was like a board which had a simulated hole and got it in there for a 2025 Porsche Macan.
Who's responsible for coming up with these ideas? Is it the sponsor?
The marketing team.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's the marketing team comes up with some, and then there's an athletic partner team that works with a lot of the businesses and stuff. And so they'll sit down and just talk through ideas, and a business might say, hey, what if we did something like this? They take it to the marketing team. Marketing says, yeah, we can make that happen. What if we do it like that? And they all come together and agree on it, and then we execute.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so obviously I'm more familiar with your career as an MC than anything else.
Totally.
And I feel like just because I know who you are, you're such a warm personality, always high energy. I've never known you to just like be low on enthusiasm. What do you think makes a great in-venue experience, especially for sporting events? And how has that, come through? Like, is it just natural to you?
I think, for me, everything, and this is like the 8th time, you'll probably do a super cut of me saying this, but everything goes back to remembering that we're serving. And at every role, starting at the high school level, you should really try to get it into your head that the best way to level up is to serve. As teammates on a basketball team, for instance, you end up learning about servitude, right? Serving each other, you end up helping each other out. And then you go to the pro games and you start to realize that when they're crunching numbers in their head, people are serving the ball to each other in certain ways. They're setting plays to make sure that certain numbers are hit and stats are hit. We are doing the exact same thing for the audience's sake. So, everything for an event experience comes down to you as the producer, the PA, the social media, the videographer, even if you're running cables, right? Everything is about how can I make sure that this audience has a great experience. Chick-fil-A, I don't know if I'm allowed to say Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you are.
But Chick-fil-A always puts their customer experience first, which is why you've never had a bad experience at a Chick-fil-A, right? Even if you're not in the mood for it that day, you're always going to have a positive thought about it. So, I think in terms of event experience, try to think of ways that you can be of value to the audience who paid to be there. How can you be of value to the streamers who are giving their attention to you on that broadcast?
Do you feel like you've had time to, do you feel like each game is targeted towards always getting better for yourself? Do you feel like, obviously this isn't where you started. Yeah. At some point you were probably nervous, you were new, you were young, you were figuring it out. How have you developed your own skills to become more successful, to really being able to dial in on that energy and deciding how you're going to cater it and push it forward?
Totally. I would say the big thing for me is you look for the worst of the worst and then the best of the best in whatever you're doing. So this is kind of a simple way to do it. But go on YouTube and Google worst video editing ever, and then watch it. Watch the whole thing, and then go to the other end and look up Casey Neistat best video tips, and then you will find yourself on a spectrum now. And a few more of those back and forths, and you'll find out where you're sitting on it, no matter what career field you're in. And from there, you can determine, do I want to go more that way where it's better, or am I good here? Some people don't feel the need to run all the way to be the best of the best, and that's okay, because the best of the best isn't needed every single time. And I think people kind of have to get over, like, it doesn't have to look like $1 million. Sometimes the experience comes from the level of care you put into it, regardless of the level. So you'll find the space that you're at, and then from there, you can either choose to move forward or stay where you're at. Ideally, you don't move backwards unless you just decide on a limit of, I don't care, I'm just getting it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would say to start.
I think that's really good advice for students as well, just to like go out and reference things. Like, I feel like in a lot of these roles, you kind of have to be a self-starter.
Totally.
And obviously, like, there's a lot of resources that are now available to us between social media and YouTube and everything else. Okay, I have been dying to know, and I'm asking this more from like thinking through our ADs, knowing how important sponsorship and advertising is to them.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your role helps develop the brand of the team well enough to be able to also help them find their footing with sponsors and businesses? Like, I feel like if I think of Husker Athletics, I'm not going to lie, even though I think of obviously DeWayne as a separate brand.
Yeah.
I also still really closely associate you to Husker Athletics.
Absolutely.
And do you feel like they've been able to benefit from that?
I mean, you would hope so, right? That's always the goal in bringing on someone that you're allowing to represent your brand. You know, I'm incredibly grateful for the amount of ways that they allow me to put my face directly next to the N, you know, because it's a massive responsibility, you know, and to answer your question, that should be the goal. Right. I mean, my life had changed because I'm now in that position. Yeah. Right. So you want to make sure that when you're out and about and people meet you and see you, that you're friendly, that you give a handshake, because they are associating you directly with the brand. If you're really off-putting to people and they're like, man, that was not a good experience. When they show up to a game the next time and you get on the mic talking about, hey, everybody, they're like, ugh. He's not really like that. He's not really friendly. Right. So I do think that it's helpful to have me in positions that allow people to get close to me. I can represent the brand, and then that hopefully brings in more sponsorships and donors and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just interesting to think about the fact that I feel like so many high school sporting events currently do not have an MC.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like they miss out on the ability to not only help that student learn that valuable skill of public speaking, but then also translating that over to the fact that having an MC can actually help them develop their own sense of brand.
Yes.
And through that brand, then it's easier for them to hopefully go out and show themselves, because it feels like it's adding more value.
Yes.
And I can't believe that hasn't been the thing. I feel, and here's like the other thing is, it's not coming at an expense to them to have a student right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're giving them an opportunity.
Plug in a microphone.
Exactly. Well, just get her done.
You know, I thought about you saying that made me think how easy it is for a sponsor to pop on and get a direct benefit, because we are in 2025. If you're still treating your students like it's 1997 or 2008, you got to cut it out. They are on social media killing it, and they may not have the best decision-making skills all the time with what they post. But because of NIL being an absolute reality, because of people starting to plan out that, which is a lot of money and a lot of pressure, they're starting to plan that out in high school. I think it's completely acceptable to start talking about how sponsorships are made and brokered and how they impact not only the school, but the community as well. So if you're a used sports equipment company and the MC just so happens to be a track athlete. This is just an example. Obviously, I was a theater kid, so that wasn't the same thing for me. But let's say it just so happened to be a track athlete, and you approach them and say, hey, can we do a sponsorship with you for on your social media, right? You work it out, boom, now you're connected with that student. Let's bring that connection into the school, right? Can that be an open conversation? Or is the administration open to talking about what those kinds of partnerships look like? And they may not be traditional, right? There may be different bureaucratic processes in the way of saying, yes, we support this random business.
Right.
But there are ways to work with community, and bringing on an MC or any number of talented students for any number of things can yield a sponsorship that strengthens your build with the community. And as you know, that leads to feeders, and that leads to more money.
Right. It's like a whole entire community economic benefit. Like
Yes.
pour into your schools, pour into your activities programs. I think that's the other vital thing. And you mentioning being a theater kid, like I think the whole point of introducing live production at the level that we're talking about for high school sports is to give students more opportunities that are not just being an athlete.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's activities based. And I can't stress enough how important that is in today's culture where kids are saying stuff like, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to go off and become an influencer. And it's like, why not give them the tools to understand what that looks like at a healthy level? And even if they do make the mistake, then that's a teaching moment for them,
Boom.
right?
Yes.
And so much of like learning to be in the realm of performance under any capacity requires failure, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like it does. And your job as a teacher is to help them understand what that looks like so that they can do it better the next time.
Yeah.
And that is your responsibility, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know we're kind of running kind of short on time, but I have a couple
good.
more questions I wanted to work through. I think first and foremost, I want to hear from your perspective, what can high school athletic programs do to better engage students who want to be involved in live event production? And knowing too a little bit of your background as an adjunct professor at the University of Nebraska, how can those educators maybe help their students grow and prepare them for the next steps of what they could see at the college level?
Yeah. See, as a professional in residence, what I'm noticing is that there are a lot of students who want to just try it, right? They want to have the experience. So let's say there's 50 students in a broadcasting performance course. 45 to 48 of them are doing podcasting, right? They're creating their own podcasts. So that's at the collegiate level. And a lot of them will say, this is our first time doing it. As we know, high schoolers starting to pick this up and do podcasts in high school, maybe some broadcasts. That's awesome. I would definitely say keep doing some of that if they haven't already. The other thing to allow students in is allowing them to bring their own equipment, right? I know budget is always a concern because you start talking about broadcasting games. What, you want to bring your JVC from 1995? Well, now here come all the email complaints about the quality of the video, and now students are complaining about the old equipment, and you're like, look, this is what we've got. But you'd be surprised at the amount of wonderful camera equipment that students just have. If there was a way to vet that equipment that's being used and then figure out which stuff works best. Everyone's going to have to sign a waiver. Sorry, you bring your own equipment. Something might happen at the game. A ball might fly into it, but it is what it is. Let's connect with the parents and figure out a way to make this work and just start developing content.
Yeah.
Something that I encourage students to do is if they're not already affiliated with the school doing it, just go ahead and start making stuff. But obviously, if I'm talking to the schools and administrators, we're telling your students to go ahead and do it anyway. So let them do it for you.
Yeah.
Allow them to give them the legal okay to stamp the school logo on there. Do you know how cool that feels? I mean, there's so many. I know that it might be Creighton Prep that I see a lot. I've run into a lot of the people on Instagram that are doing a lot of their graphic design for some of their basketball players and the teams and stuff like that. And I think that is so cool. And I know there's so many other really talented creatives out there that are producing things like this for the individuals on the team. But why not have that as an entire team thing that they can do as a larger project? Because if there's nothing now, why not have just a little something in the future? You might mess around and grow a whole team.
100%. And I feel like fortunate for us, we're living in an era where, like, I liked you mentioning that students could bring their own equipment because there are some affordable options already available for equipment as well. and it doesn't have to be perfect. And worst case scenario, somebody does complain about the video and you're like, hey, we'd be happy to upgrade, like, but invest in us.
Where's the donation?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a public school. Like, you get to control what the narrative is from a direction of being a parent. So, like,
absolutely,
make your contribution and we'll continue to invest in the students and give back, right? Like, welcome to taxpayer money, everybody.
Boom, seriously. I mean, and people think about donating items too. These cameras are, and you know, this isn't to say that everyone's financial situation is different, but for between $600 and $800, you could get a camera and donate it to the school. There's plenty of websites that give you the stats. I'm sure you all have great information and resources about the cameras that would be great to use at schools for broadcasts and things like that. You can find yourself a decent camera and gift that to a student or gift that to the school itself. And that can completely change the game for an entire season of sports. I mean, I've seen one kid with a camera make football season look like a movie, right?
I know. It's crazy. I can't believe how many high school students, like, I've even seen high school students who have gone off to go and do a little bit of work for some of the colleges as well, just like freelance work. And it's like, he's a senior in high school and he's just
there. At the College World Series last year, I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head.
Brandon Urbano, probably?
I think so. He's running around.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm in high school. I was like, what?
Yeah, he does all the media for a bunch of the high schools that use ScoreVision. So we've been in touch with him a couple times.
Yes.
But
Work
he's very
fire.
talented.
Yeah.
He is so talented. And there are so many of them. I can't even believe it. Like, also, there's another idea. Like, if you're an athletic department and you are getting sponsorships, use those kids, pay for them, have a sponsor specifically dedicated towards media output, and smack your sponsor's logo on it. And there you go. It's
absolutely
good content for everybody all around.
And it's going to pay itself off.
100%. Okay, I want to do a rapid fire round.
Yes, let's do it.
I'm excited. And hopefully I'll ask these quick and then you can answer them quick. First, what is your favorite song to excite the crowd right now?
Oh, I'd have to say... Oh, that's tough. Joker and the Thief.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Joker and the Thief. There's something about it with that clap. Once the claps come in, you're like, yeah.
And everybody's having a great time.
Everybody have a great time.
Okay, what is the most memorable gamer event you've ever emceed?
Probably the Big Red Challenge. It's a nonprofit focused on helping veterans transition into civilian life. And they held like a run, and it was filled with so much emotion, so much honor for our veterans, and of course, like making new friends and meeting new community members was amazing.
Very cool. Okay, what's one thing every great announcer or host should never do?
Never apologize to the audience.
Do people do that?
Oh yeah, they'll mess up and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or they'll drop something and sorry about that. I dropped my cards. Or sorry, everybody. Sorry, guys. Nope.
Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Okay. If you could give one mic drop piece of advice to K through 12 students pursuing their passion, what would it be?
Be ridiculous. Like be so ridiculously open to exploring that passion, and feel free for it to change and flow over time, right? But the number one thing is just throw yourself at it, right? If you're tiptoeing towards it, you're not going to get very far, right? You can only tiptoe so far, so fast. But if you run towards it, throw yourself at it, you're going to go leaps and bounds, and you're that much quicker to figuring out whether or not this is something you want to pursue or this is something you were just interested in for a little bit. And I promise you, like 20 years from now, those little bits that you tried here and there will pay off in stories, right? Because now you got stories about the random thing that you did. Like me, I did plumbing for 9 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know you didn't know that. It's a part of the story. You know what else? I can pick locks like nobody's business. I thought I was going to have a lock picking business. There's so many things that you can do and you can try that people may never have to know about, or maybe you want them to know about it, but like jump into that passion, run for it, and see what happens.
That is such good advice. DeWayne, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Woo.
Woohoo.
Just, we're still rolling, but before we take headphones off, I had a follow-up question, 2 follow-up questions. This may or may not, it's probably not going in there.
No, it should go in there.
One
Producer Evan.
Hey.
One is so I hear you're a beatboxer.
Yes.
Can we get a sample of a little bit
Oh
of a
my
hit or
gosh,
something?
can that be the opener?
Yeah, we
you
can
please?
maybe add that to the.
Yeah. So what's the full name of the podcast? Is it ScoreVision?
ScoreVision Advantage.
Advantage. But I got the skip ScoreVision advantage.
Oh yeah.
He's for hire. That was so good.
Sick. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Woo.
I can't believe you can do that.
ScoreVision advantage.